Glory to Jesus Christ. Glory for our feast day. Saint Constantine the Great, when he was not Saint Constantine the Great, when he was still a pagan, first came to what we now know as Rome to fight Maxentius, and his army was overwhelmed by the numbers that Maxentius had. At that point, Constantine was in fear, did not know what to do, and he sees in the heavens a cross appear with stars around it. And he said to him, "By this sign conquer, by this conquer." And he did. He put it on their shields, he used it as their emblem in battle, and defeated Maxentius, and of course the rest is history. He became the emperor of this area of Rome, and he accepted Christianity, and the sign of his cross, and the world turned to Christianity. We had a Christian empire all of a sudden, and churches were built, and the pagan temples were destroyed. Laws were changed to reflect the gospel. But that was the sign by which he conquered, in which Christ conquers sin, death, and the devil. So we too must look at that message, because that is what God is telling us. By this sign conquer. We continue to raise the cross up in our midst to this day, as we did last evening at Matins. If you'd had the blessing of being around a hierarchy at a service like this, you would have seen it raised in all four directions many times, and 500 Lord have mercy sung in the service. It's quite an elaborate ritual, because this cross, this sign, has life. It's full of power. It is not an empty symbol. It is not just a piece of wood we put in our midst. Because Christ has been on it, therefore it can never be empty again. That power in heaven will be the same. We will know that Christ was crucified for us, yet we also know that he was resurrected for us. And that is why the cross does have power. Because the devil tried to take a sinless one and put him to death, who was not worthy of death, who had fulfilled the law. And so now the cross is our emblem of victory. So when Constantine's mother finds this cross and it heals the woman, there's two stories. It heals a woman, one heals a sick person. It brought a dead woman to life. The other two crosses did not do that, which are of the thieves. She found the true cross, and of course this became a great source of joy for the world. Constantine wanted to have the true cross. And then later in history, when the Persians had taken this cross away with them, Rolls-Royce took it away. Emperor Heraclius eventually gained the strength to go take it back. If you remember the story, he comes to Jerusalem with the cross and tries to bear it in triumph, and he feels like there's this invisible wall before him. He can't enter into Jerusalem. Big Shark tells him to come in humility, and he gets off his horse, dresses simply, and he's able to bring the cross in. Because it is only with humility that we can have the power of the cross in our lives. And we have to look at this for what it is. Again, as we said many times, it is an instrument of horrible death, the most defacing, the most horrible death anyone could die in that part in the world, and full of shame. It was a shameful death that only the worst people would die by. But Christ raises it up to be the symbol for which we are to live by. Before thy cross we bow down and worship. We pray that through the power of thy cross we will be preserved, and our lives will be preserved. And that cross, of course, is difficult. And each and every one of us has crosses to bear every day, which are our own way to salvation. So we can look at the trials in our life, the temptations, the struggles, the pains, as great burdens, which they can be. They can hurt. But yet we can also transfigure those things and look at them for what they are. They are instruments to salvation by which God is saving us. And if we accept them, we can be transfigured. Providentially, in my daily reading this morning, I came to the Transfiguration. And that's not by accident, because there is no transfiguration without crucifixion. And remember, when he's on the Mount of Tabor, he speaks to Elijah and Moses about his upcoming passion. He tells the disciples immediately when he comes down from the mountain that the Son of Man will suffer in Jerusalem. They don't want to hear this, of course. They don't understand what this means. But as St. Seraphim tells us, there's no salvation without suffering. So the idea that we're going to come to church and everything is going to be perfect for us, we need to disabuse ourselves of that idea immediately, because that is not the gospel. Christ says we will suffer for his sake. And the sooner we can accept that, we can deal with reality as it is in a joyous way. Because our sufferings do happen no matter what we do. So we might as well use them for good and use them for our own transfiguration. And this day, of course, we keep a stricter fast than normal. We try to be very diligent on this day and keep a strict fast, because this is about crucifixion. The gospel here was not full of joy. We know what it leads to, of course, but it was not full of that at all. So we have to very carefully this day observe what it is with a sobriety, and prepare ourselves to live our lives as we should with sobriety. Because taking up the cross demands watchfulness. It demands us to be a guard over all things in our life. It requires us to try to be at peace with our struggles. It requires us to bear shame, insults, suffering, any type of abuse, illness, sickness, disease, whatever comes upon us. Hatred from families, hatred from neighbors, hatred from our enemies. It requires that of us. And this is not an easy message, I realize that. But it is the message that leads to humility. It is the message that leads to salvation. Because Christ followed that path through the cross into Hades, we too have to follow that path with him and go down as far as we can go in humility. As I've told you before, when we get to that point, we think we've humbled ourselves, we must humble ourselves some more, because there's always more humility. And in that humility, Christ raises us up with himself in his ascension, and we are raised up as high as he has risen, because we have descended with him as far as he descended. And by the power of the cross, our lives can be transfigured and changed to the glory of God. O Lord, save us by the power of thy cross. Amen.
Amen.